Hello everybody, my name is CulBlu and I'm bringing out this video of me playing a board game. And today, if you have checked the title of the video, or if you're watching live on Twitch for the second time, this is going to be my list of 10 games that I will play 10 times in a row. And this list was extremely difficult to put together for a lot of different reasons. One, 10 times is a lot to ask from a single board game, and playing a game 10 times in a row. Sorry, also to clarify, this is a solo edition. I forgot to mention that in the last time, but I'm glad I mentioned it now. Solo edition. These are 10 games that I will play 10 times in a row solo. This is a very specific list. So let me go and start our music so I don't forget this time around. All right, cool. We got the music in the background. And the reason why I wanted to make this list is because, you know, who doesn't like a top 10 list? So here we are. But these are 10 games that I've chosen that I will play 10 times in a row. I'm going to try to make this video under 30 minutes, but there's 21 board games on this table between this side and that side. This side is the 10 that I've chosen, that I've kind of pared down. These 11 over here are the ones that are kind of, you know, games that are, for one reason or another, honorable mentions. There's a lot of honorable mentions, a lot of very close ones. So yeah, so like I said, this is a little bit difficult of a list to make because playing a single game 10 times in a row, I really have to be into the mechanics. It's got to be a good game. I got to want to sit down and kind of slog through it. I can bring up one honorable mention that's not on the table. Is Shia Legends of a Drift System. I have actually played that game with friends, a full game, 4 times in a row over the course of a weekend, and I'm telling you, by the time we got to game 4, everybody was kind of done with the game. The mechanics were like, we just kind of saw the bare bones of the mechanic, and we're just kind of playing to optimize our turns, and it got very, very dry very fast. That said, Shia Legends of a Drift System, if I had a list of 10 games that I'll play 5 times in a row, Shia would make that list barely. So just to give you guys some clarification as to some great games that got knocked out of the list because I'm just thinking about the repetitiveness of playing it. Anyway, go into this list because we have a lot of games to go over. Starting with this one, also to clarify, I determined the games in this list based on the start and the end. So comparing Lands of Galzyr, which is right here in front of us, versus Sleeping Gods, which is an honorable mention, which we'll talk about later. Sleeping God, I consider one game of Sleeping Gods the whole thing, the whole campaign. Whereas Lands of Galzyr made the list because a campaign of Lands of Galzyr is just one session. And you can finish that one session, pack up, put the game away, and that's one game played. So Lands of Galzyr is going to be the representation for kind of narrative games. And very simple mechanics, very straightforward, very interesting story, a lot of branching paths, a lot of stuff going on. I think that this game definitely deserves a spot on this list of 10 games that I will play 10 times in a row solo edition. I say solo edition because I'm planning on doing a multiplayer edition eventually, but we'll see when that happens. But Lands of Galzyr definitely makes that list. It is very simple, very basic mechanics, to the point where I can kind of play it while watching TV, which is weird because you have to read the stuff that's going on, but honestly, you're just doing a lot of skill checks and going along with the game. Some people, it's not everybody's cup of tea. I would prefer a little bit more game in my game, but if I'm playing it 10 times in a row, I'd rather deal with this than Sleeping Gods. So that's why this one made the list. So Lands of Galzyr made the list. Jump Drive. Jump Drive is a game that has a solo mode. There is an expansion for Jump Drive that I almost purchased, but I didn't, but I should have. But there's a community-made solo mode, and I think the expansion has the community-made solo mode officially in the game. But if you don't have it, just go look up a Board Game Geek Jump Drive. You can play it solo. I would be willing to play this 10 times in a row. Very crunchy game, very straightforward. I think it ends faster than it should, but that's a bonus. That's a bonus in this particular list, because if I got to play 10 whole games of it in a row, I want something crunchy, something engaging, something I want to play and sit down and enjoy. It's not deck building, but it's kind of civilization building ish. Yeah, Jump Drive definitely fits that bill as far as getting out of, like, you know, getting your game in, getting out of the way, and not overstaying its welcome. I would argue it's understays its welcome, but that's just me. Actually, let me take these games off the table as I go through them, because we got a lot of games to go through here. Oh no. I didn't plan that part. I don't know where to put them. Okay, alright. Future me will deal with that problem. The next game on this list is actually one game that I have only played once solo, but I feel like this game has enough legs to carry it to 10 times in a row without being too brain burner or too fatiguing, I should say, and that's Tiny Epic Vikings. Tiny Epic Vikings is a game that, for sure, when it came out, because like for those who know with me, Small Box Big Games is one of my series that I have in videos, and in the Tiny Epic games, I think they had a very strong start. I think they peaked, in my humble opinion. I think the Tiny Epic series peaked around Tiny Epic Quest, although Tiny Epic Westerns was one of my favorites. And then since then, I've just kind of been following it. Like, I didn't back Tiny Epic Crimes. That was the first one I didn't back, but I backed all the other ones since then. And there's a lot of games of the Tiny Epic series. Like, if I could show you my shelf of all the Tiny Epics together, I'm just letting you know that there's some stinkers up there. But Tiny Epic Vikings has restored my confidence in the Tiny Epic series. It's fantastic. It's fun. I enjoy the system. It's... I don't know how to explain it. Like it kind of takes a few mechanics and puts them together. I don't dare say it's like Blood Rage, but smaller. I think that might be the intention that we're going after, but it's a very fun game mechanically. I like it, I enjoy it, and it's not annoying, and I could see this holding up 10 playthroughs in a row, like together. So that's why Tiny Epic Vikings makes that list. The next one is Sprawlopolis. Sprawlopolis, one of the games from Button Shy Games, wallet-sized game, very fun, very brain burnery. All I'm saying is that this game hurts my brain when I play it, and I would love to play this game 10 times in a row to see if I can actually figure out how to win in this game. But Sprawlopolis, for a very small game, very like small, a package I should say. It takes up a little bit of space, but not too much space on the table. Very quick to kind of put out and just kind of get your 3 objectives, put out your city, you're building your city up and trying to score your points and just kind of go with it. It is a very interesting game. It's very fascinating how they fit all that game in this little small package, but I think this one would definitely stand the test of time playing 10 times in a row. So that's why this one makes a list, and that's number 4, I guess. Number 5, which once again, these are not in order, by the way. These are not in any particular order for the ones chosen. Number 5 in this list is Ganz, Schon, Clever, or That's So Clever, or Ganz, Schon, Clever, I think is how you're supposed to pronounce that. But this is a roll and write game. I like this game a lot. I've played the heck out of this game digitally, and I would be willing to play this game physically 10 times in a row. I think 10 times in a row physically is going to be a lot slower, a lot more arduous, but it is still a very fantastic game. I've basically min-maxed, in my mind I've min-maxed every single time, so this one's kind of just trying to beat your own score situation for me anyway. I mean, that's what the solo is, that's what the multiplayer is, to be honest, beat your opponent's score. But playing this one 10 times in a row would be an enjoyable experience, so I can definitely see myself doing that. Which is why this one has made the list. Pretty much as soon as I was making a list, I was like, this game definitely makes it up there. Very, very quick, gets out of the way, relative to the other games. Quick, gets out of the way, and you have this nice little trophy sheet to show people, like, look, I scored 300, haha. So, Ganz, Schon, Clever definitely makes that list for me. So number 6 on this list is Deep Space 6. So Deep Space 6 only makes this list under one circumstance, and that's the fan-made expansion. Assuming that I have the ability to go about or bounce back and forth between the fan-made expansion that basically adds a campaign mode and the non-fan-made or the base expansion of the base game, I'm willing to put this game on this list. So this one conditionally makes a list. Unfortunately, I know for people who are super huge mega fans of this game, unfortunately, like, the base game is not enough to carry me through 10 playthroughs, so I will have to mix it up with the campaign. But that said, the fact that this game is print and play, so if you wanted to try this game out, you could go to Board Game Geek, look up the files. The whole print and play files are there, and you can print this out, try it out yourself. Very interesting system. It works pretty smoothly. It's a little annoying. It's a little bit deterministic. Yeah, you're kind of beholden to dice rolls, and you got some dice mitigation. I would not compare this to Final Girl. Is a game that I've talked about a few times, and I know people love that game to death. I would not compare it to Final Girl as far as its dice system. I think this dice system is a little bit more, slightly more robust than Final Girl, despite this game's simplicity versus Final Girl's more steps involved complexity. But that said, the reason why I bring up Final Girl is because if you like the dice system in Final Girl, and you're okay with that, then this game is definitely up your alley. That's me saying as somebody who is not the biggest fan of Final Girl's overall balance system. I'm willing to put up with this system because I feel like it's more dice mitigation. But if you love that system, you're going to love this system because sometimes when you're playing this game, it's just like the dice are just going to tell you what's going to happen, and you just got to deal with it. And that can be fun. That's frustrating, but that's frustrating sometimes for me, I should say. But that can be fun for others. So Deep Space D6 makes a list, especially, or say, only under the condition that I can include the community fan-made campaign expansion. So I can maybe, play through number 6 or play through number 7, play through the campaign, and then go back to the base game. Okay, cool. So next up, did I count right? Oh no, there's 5 games left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, okay, it's 4 games left. Sorry, math is hard. We're making good time. Next up is Welcome to Your Perfect Home. Welcome to, very solid roll and write. I don't really have much else to say outside of very solid roll and write. Like I could play this 15 times and probably still be happy with it. The variability in this game is pretty nice. It's pretty much on its face, it does what it says it's gonna do. You do some roll and write. I would argue that this is a little bit more interesting than something like Ganz, Schon, Clever. Ganz, Schon, Clever specifically, which I mentioned previously on this list. That one makes a list because it kind of, you play it, it's crunchy, it gets out of the way. This one is, you play it, it's crunchy, it gets out of the way, and it tells a cool story, or it can tell a cool story if you play it, or when you play it. So definitely one of the other roll and writes on this game, because I think there's 2 roll and writes on this list, and there's 2 roll and writes on the near misses, if you will, or the honorable mentions. But this one, if I had to pick between Ganz, Schon, Clever and this one, I think I would just bounce back and forth between the 2, because I like both of them for different reasons. But this one I like because the card system is pretty fun. The choice you have to make between this set versus that set, that feels good and nice and crunchy. So there's a lot to love in this game. So this one definitely makes a list for 10 games that I would be willing to play 10 times in a row. Now the question I'll answer for anybody who might be wondering, will I play these 10 games 10 times in a row? No, I will not. But this is a theoretical list. So there you go. Next up on this list is Castles of Burgundy, the card game, which I will bring in our next honorable mention. I'll talk about this one now since it's here. So the reason why Castles of Burgundy, the board game, is an honorable mention, and Castles of Burgundy, the card game, is my selection here, is mainly because I've only ever played Castles of Burgundy, the card game. I've only played a single half game of Castles of Burgundy, the board game. I have not played it enough to kind of know fully what's involved in it, so I had to take it with a grain of salt. It's in the honorable mention because, one, it's, from what I hear, basically the card game version, but with more steps and more decisions to make, and it's more more agency over your choices. So I like that potential aspect. And then 2, because I have the Castle of Burgundy, the Anniversary Edition, or whatever this one's called, there's storage space inside of this one for me to store my other copy of Castles of Burgundy, the card game, which apparently is hard to get nowadays, which I find very saddening. But I had 2 copies of Castle of Burgundy, the card game, one that I already had, and then another one that I purchased for a friend who didn't take it. So I've put that in the box. There's space for it, so I can keep both Castles of Burgundy, the board game, and Castles of Burgundy, the card game in the same box. So that's why Castles of Burgundy, the board game, gets an honorable mention, but Castles of Burgundy, the card game, is definitely on my list of 10 games that I'll play 10 times in a row. I have, in fact, played Castles of Burgundy, the card game, 10 times in a row, because I would, at work, during my lunch breaks, I would essentially go down into the break room during my lunch breaks and then play this game 2 times, or try to knock out 2 games because I was efficient enough. Two games is pushing it. I'll maybe take like a 90-minute lunch every once in a while. But that goes a long way to say that, yeah, I've definitely played this game 10 times in a row over the course of a few days, of course. So maybe not back to back to back immediately, but I have. So that's why I made the list, because that was one of the games that I've done that with. So next up is Warp's Edge. Warp's Edge makes this list for one specific reason. That's because there's enough stuff to keep me interested. So the gameplay mechanic, I don't think the gameplay mechanic actually will hold the test of time of me playing 10 times in a row, to be completely honest with you. Bag building is fun, but I feel like it becomes very samey very fast. The only thing that keeps me interested in this game, or to even make this list, or even come close to making this list, and to be clear, it is on this list for me specifically, is the simple fact that there's enough stuff. I have all the expansions. I have the Anomaly expansion and the Viren Invasion, whatever it's called, expansion. So that means that gives me a lot of different enemies to fight, gives me a lot of different ships to use, gives me a lot of different powers to use, and a lot of different combinations. And I feel like spending 10 games to kind of fully understand what one ship does versus another ship does, and what one set of enemies do versus another set of enemies, I feel like that could be a lot of fun. And that would definitely push me over the edge as far as being remotely interested in playing this game 10 times in a row. So this one is on the list because I feel like it qualifies for that uniqueness and keeps it fresh for all these playthroughs. Although I will admit that I probably would be very exhausted playing this game 10 times in a row, because the bag building mechanic, as cool as it is, I feel like it will get old extremely fast. So yeah, Warp's Edge on the list. And then finally, Rolling Heights. So Rolling Heights is a game that I feel like only makes this list because it is new enough for me. What I mean by is I don't think I have yet to see every single tile and every single combination and every single like kind of orientation of the board to fully understand just how samey this game can potentially be. I say can potentially be because even when I play this game maybe 3 times, 2 times solo, 1 time, well, 3 times solo, all solo, and I'm going to be playing with some friends, I think tomorrow, or sometime soon. I've been playing this game with some friends, and every single time I played it, I've enjoyed it. It's been a blast. I've been looking for a city building game for a while. This game has a really cool table presence. The scoring conditions are pretty nice. The decision of where do you build this versus that, and how things vary from game to game, it keeps me interested every single time, or has kept me interested every single time. But that said, I feel like once I kind of see everything, then I feel like this game will definitely fall off this list pretty hardcore. So that goes an extremely long way to say that because of the newness of this game, I think this game has made the list. But, you know, playing this one 10 times in a row, just kind of like Warp's Edge, I feel like might become too samey, especially with the mechanic of rolling your meeples, and kind of, you know, there's a certain deterministic point where it's like, okay, if I just get this combination of things, I'm just gonna win. So I feel like that could happen, but the game's new enough. I'm familiar enough with the mechanics. I'm familiar enough with the strategies, long-term strategies, to where this has made the list. Also, this game is neat, it's fun to look at, and it's basically like a kind of slight toy while playing with the game, so that's pretty nice. It has like a little toy factor. So that's Rolling Heights, and that is the last of the 10 in the list. Now, these 11 over here are 10 now, I guess, because I talked about one of them already and removed it from the table. These 10 remaining ones are ones that are going to make this list, or make an honorable mentions list. So I'm effectively giving you 2 lists. And I'll tell you why these ones don't quite make the list for me specifically. Starting with Hadrian's Wall, which might enrage a few people. I can hear the keyboards clacking away. My apologies ahead of time. If you like this game, that's great. I'm just saying Hadrian's Wall for me is just like, the theme doesn't pull me in. I don't feel like I'm doing much. It just seems like I have just enough time to do everything, and it's one of those, I don't know. For me, as a roll and write, this game is not engaging. It says it has nothing to do with well, maybe it has something to do with the mechanics. I like the being able to bounce between the things. That's fun, but for what it is, how long it lasts, and everything, I don't feel like it's enough for me to kind of pull stuff out of it. And if I had to play this game 10 times in a row, I feel like I would claw my eyes out, just to be honest. So a little bit of a brutal stance on that one. I know. My apologies. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't think this game pulls me in enough. Some people have said that the theme is actually much better than other roll and writes, and I can see where people can get that. But just for me, the theme, it just doesn't quite click with me. Maybe that's what it is. If the theme of it pulled me in more, maybe it could be like Welcome to, and I'll just kind of deal with it. But I don't know. Just for what it is, yeah, unfortunately, Hadrian's Wall is an honorable mention, because if it was a 10 games that I would play 5 times in a row, this game would definitely make that list for sure, because I want to dig deep into like figure all the strategies and kind of play it out. But 10 times, ooh, 10 times is a lot. 10 times is a lot to ask for this game for me. All right, next up is Bios Mesofauna. So this game has unfortunately made this list for honorable mentions list for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, Phil Eklund. Unfortunately, I know his games tend to be ones that I'm drawn to, and I like the stories they tell and like the learning that I can do from it, but Phil Eklund gestures generically towards Phil Eklund as a person from his political view specifically. So it's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow for me specifically, because being able to separate the artist from the art is something that I am trying to work on being better at for some situations. But with Phil Eklund specifically, it's a love-hate situation. It's like I love a lot of the games he makes, but I hate some of the stances that he has and some of the, if you will, propaganda or angles or perspectives that he has inside of his games. So because of that, this game does not make that list for that reason. And also, this game is relatively new to me, so I have not played it enough to fully see if it kind of goes over that hump. So for instance, PAX Transhumanity, for instance, has transcended that, oh, Phil Eklund, I don't know if I can endorse this game. PAX Transhumanity, I love that game to death. I will play the crap out of the game. I think Terraforming Mars is still a better game overall, but the fact that I can compare PAX Transhumanity, which is not on this list, to that is fantastic. But for solo playthrough, there's a solo mode for this game. I'm excited to learn about it, but unfortunately, just the Phil Eklund factor has dropped it down a notch, and the fact that it's relatively new to me has also dropped it down another notch. So that's why it's an honorable mention. I did want to give it a shout out though, because I do adore the size of this box. Like, this is a small box in a big game, and like I'm a fan of that. But yeah, this one has not made the list for a few reasons, like I stated. Moving on. So another honorable mention is Cascadia. So Cascadia, it only has made an honorable mentions list because I I cannot for the life of me sit down long enough to fully digest this game. What I mean by that is like every single time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to play Cascadia. I'm gonna put the video on. I'm gonna sit down in front of my TV and learn how to play it. I just haven't. I just can't. I don't know why. I think that once I finally sit down and learn how to play this game, I will love the crap out of it because a lot of the variability and the ways you can adjust the difficulties of it and the different modes and the campaign goals I guess it has at the end of it. I feel like I would love the crap out of this game. It's just every time I put it on the table, set it up, it's like, I don't feel like learning this game right now. And I've had this game for like at least 7 months, which is not a long time, but still. Yeah. Maybe one day it'll go from honorable mention to mention, but right now it's on the honorable mentions list. So just kind of my own shortcomings, to be honest, with the reason why Cascadia has not made the list of 10 games that I'll play 10 times in a row. Next up are these three. I'll talk about them at the same time. We have Mintworks, Ragemore, and Rove. Rove, I feel like will make this list eventually, but my brain hurts every time I play this game. It's a fantastic game, but man, the puzzle that you're trying to put together in Rove, it's just like every single time I play it, like I feel like I'm fried. For a small game, once again, Button Shy, you did it again. A very small game with a lot of very intricate mechanics, a lot of like really hardcore thinking you have to do and puzzling. Fun, fantastic, 10 out of 10. But like I said, or maybe 8 out of 10. I wouldn't say 10 out of 10. But that said, yeah, like my brain legitimately hurts thinking about playing this game. Doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means that I don't know if I have the mental faculties necessary to play this 10 times in a row, back to back at least. It will have to be a game I'll play 10 times in a row over the course of like a week. So Rove has definitely made the honorable mentions list because I feel like it's worthy of being played 10 times in a row and still keeping my interest. It's just, I don't know, yeah. My brain, let's just call it that. Mintworks has made the honorable mentions list because it is a fantastic game overall. It is, unfortunately, the best game in the entire Mint series. I say Mint Cooperative is a good second if you are interested in the Mint series, because there's like I think 6 games in the Mint series. There's Mintworks, Mint Deliveries, which is garbage, Mint Cooperative. I think I said Mint Control. Sorry, Mint Cooperative, which is the other good one. And then you have Mint Control, which is a broken mess. You have Mint Bid, which is awful. And there's one more. I can't think of what the other one is. Or I don't know if there's another one. But all I'm saying is that Mintworks is the best one in the entire series. Mint Cooperative is basically Pandemic, but in a small box. So if you like Pandemic, that's going to be a great one for you. But this one has made the honorable mentions list because I don't know if this game can stand... Well, I know this game cannot stand up to keep my interest 10 times in a row. If I'm playing this 3 times in a row, maybe it'll make a list. But 5 times in a row is pushing it. 10 times in a row, definitely push it out off the list. The reason why is because there's only so many buildings that you can build and only so many combinations of things that you can have for places you can go. And I think this game runs out of variety, unfortunately. That said, I do think this game is great to play 2 times in a row and then put away. You maybe, if your group's really into it, play 3 times in a row. But if I'm playing solo, yeah, for solo, I can play this maybe 2 times in a row and then I'm bored with it. So it does not make the list for that reason. But it's honorable mention because I think it's a great game and I want to sing the stories of that game. Ragemore. I have to be honest, Ragemore has only made the honorable mentions list because I played it 5 times in a row and I got really bored with it. It's a great game. I love the mechanics. I love what you're doing. I love like the story's telling as you're playing it and like the cycle of cards, and you have to worry about the card economy and all sort of stuff. But it's kind of the same puzzle every time. I mean, it's fun, it's clever, it's nice, it's really good and kind of keeps you on your toes, but it's the same puzzle every time. I'm not saying that I've solved the puzzle for every single game ever. It's just that if I'm playing this 10 times in a row, I feel like I would get really bored with it really fast. So yeah. Okay, speaking of games that I get really bored with really fast, Twilight Inscription. This one has made the honorable mentions list because I feel like it's worth mentioning, especially since I've kind of crapped on Hadrian's Wall, unfortunately. It's worth mentioning that I think Hadrian's Wall is objectively a better game than Twilight Inscription. The reason why is because Twilight Inscription, I feel like you have too much time to do everything. I don't know if that's maybe just the way I played it. I don't know if I mean, I've double checked the rules to make sure I'm playing it correctly, but every time I play it, I feel like I have enough time to do everything on the board, everywhere, all the time. And Hadrian's Wall, the one thing it gets right, in my opinion, compared to this game, is that Hadrian's Wall does not give you enough time to do everything. It just doesn't click with me theme-wise, I guess. But for Twilight Inscription, for 2 hours, for a 2-hour game that you can do everything every single time, all the time, it's like, okay, let me just grab my 4 sheets and then mark off everything and then count my score. And that's what I feel like every single time I play this game. Even when you're playing with other people, like I'm speaking specifically about solo, but when you're playing with other people, it still feels like the same situation. I mean, yeah, you're technically racing for certain goals, or you're technically racing for certain points faster, but yeah, Twilight Inscription has, I don't know, maybe when Fantasy Flight comes out with the expansion for it, that kind of limits that issue or shakes it up a little bit, I might be more into it, but for right now, it's just meh. Oh, hey. Oh, thanks for the raid. Yes. Also, for those who are watching on YouTube, I am live streaming on Twitch. I do these videos live on Twitch, so feel free to check out my Twitch channel. This is twitch.tv/CulBlu, CULBLU, and you can see me do these videos live. One of the questions is, what number on the top 10 list am I on? So I've done the top 10 list. I am currently on number, oh gosh, I am on number 19. No, number 18. Because I had 21 games on the table, and there's 3 left. So basically there's 11 honorable mentions that I went through, and there's 10 that I actually went through on the list. And I'm just kind of stating why these games I would not play 10 times in a row. So this one here is a Star Wars Outer Rim. Star Wars Outer Rim has only made this list of honorable mentions because I feel like after playing it 2 times in a row, I feel like I kind of done everything. I don't want to say it's gotten boring or gotten bad, but it's just, you know, it just kind of feels like for the amount of time investment and what you're doing, maybe I don't want to play this more than 2 times in a row. I feel like the magic of this game comes in if somebody's really into Star Wars, and also you have a group of friends, or if you're just kind of reminding yourself how to play the game solo every once in a while. The pick up and deliver aspects are fun. The story you tell is cool. The things it makes you do, those are very fun, and it's very engaging. But if I had to play this game 10 times in a row, I will tell you that I would probably never revisit this game ever again in my life. Even with the expansion. I have the Unfinished Business expansion, which gives me more stuff. But even then, I don't know if this game holds up to playing 10 times in a row specifically, which, once again, it's a very big ask for a single board game. I just want to clarify, this list is very difficult to make for a lot of reasons, but playing a single game 10 times in a row is going to be fatiguing. But I feel like this game would suffer a lot from you playing it that many times in a row. If I had to play it 3 times in a row, it'll probably be fine. Maybe over like a weekend or something with some friends who are really into Star Wars, but if I'm playing it solo 10 times in a row, I would probably claw my eyes out. Just like with Hadrian's Wall. So yeah. Alright, cool. Moving on to the next one. Mosaic. Mosaic has made the honorable mention list only because it is extremely new to me. I literally bought this game yesterday. So I don't know enough about it. I know there's a solo mode. I know I want to play the solo mode, and I'm excited to play the solo mode. But also, I've heard some complaints about the solo mode being very tedious to set up. I heard about the solo mode being very not necessarily samey, but the bot's kind of predictable. To some degree. So take this with a grain of salt because I'm taking third-hand information. So I'm taking second-hand information from somebody else's playthrough about somebody else's playthrough. So take all that with a grain of salt. But Mosaic is definitely on my list because I've been looking for a Civilization game to like kind of dig my teeth into. I did purchase Civilization A New Dawn from a game store, and then I returned Civilization New Dawn plus the expansion to the same game store and bought Mosaic instead. And that all happened yesterday because I purchased it, I didn't open it, I got to return it to my store. But all it goes a long way to say that this one only makes a list of honorable mentions because I have not played it yet, and also I'm looking forward to it, but I have a little bit of skepticism of playing this kind of game 10 times in a row. I feel like this might be a letdown 10 times in a row, but maybe 2, 3, 4 times in a row, it might be pretty fun and engaging. So we'll see. We'll see how that pans out once I fully learn how to play the game. And the final game on this list is Sleeping Gods. So for those who have who recall from earlier in the video, this 30-minute video, and also for those who are here, these 2 games are on the list. This one has made the list of 10 games that I'll play 10 times in a row. This one has not. The reason why is because the way I defined playing 10 games 10 times in a row is that you play the entire game or session. I would make the argument that for Sleeping Gods, a session is an entire campaign. Because I defined it that way, Sleeping Gods unfortunately did not make the list. Lands of Galzyr has the benefit of being very compartmentalized with your stories or your campaign sessions. And because of that, it has made the list for the top 10. And also the top 10 was not in any particular order, just to clarify. But Sleeping Gods did not make the list because I defined it as playing an entire campaign. If I'm to be fair and give Sleeping Gods a chance by saying that one play session, let's say 4 hours, is one game, then Sleeping Gods for sure makes a list and Lands of Galzyr does not. So I just want to clarify, Sleeping Gods is only on this side because I would consider the entire campaign as one playthrough, And if I had to do that 10 times in a row, considering that my 2 campaigns that I've done that are on YouTube and also on Twitch had been about 16 hours apiece, I don't know. I don't think I'll claw my eyes out or anything, but I feel like that's just in a lot of time. That's a lot to ask for one board game. So because of the amount of time, the sheer amount of time for one entire campaign, maybe not. But if we're considering one playthrough, like one 4-hour, 2-hour, 2-hour, 3-hour session as a game, then yes, Sleeping Gods would 100% make the list, no questions asked. But that said, I wanted to bring both these games on the list because I think Sleeping Gods has more game to it. It is a objectively better game in my opinion. But Lands of Galzyr, it actually ends in one session. You can play with other groups, pick up and drop off with all kinds of other stuff. So I would give this one the hand to being a little bit more flexible with your time, whereas Sleeping Gods just demands so much for you to make it through one campaign. And then you have to start over from scratch anyway. It's like, I don't know. Okay, cool. All right, so that's the entire list. We've talked about 21 games in my top 10 list of 10 games I'll play 10 times in a row. And just to kind of get some justification at the very end, the reason why there's 21 games on this list is because I think this kind of list is extremely difficult to make. Of a game that you're willing to play 10 times in a row, it's a lot to ask from a single board game. I said that a few times during this entire thing, but I mean, especially if you're talking about solo only, like that's really difficult to ask for. If we're talking about with multiple people, there's some games that can get on the list, like Love Letter, for instance, a great game for that list. Project L, I would argue that Project L is a great game for that list of 10 games that you'll play 10 times in a row with multiple people. But for solo only, yeah, this is a really hard list. Some people would argue a game like Seventh Continent would make the list. One, I don't own Seventh Continent for a reason, because I'm not a fan of the system as a whole. And then 2, because I have these 2 games that are basically Seventh Continent, but with less steps. So take that how you will. But yeah, so some people would argue some other games that could be on the list for multiple people. But like I said, I was trying to restrict this list to solo only since I do a lot of solo board game playthroughs. So somehow we made it through this entire list in 32 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and not push any further. I'm going to go close this video there. So thank you all very much for watching. Before we close out, let me know what you all think of games that you would play 10 times in a row. It doesn't have to be 10, but just like one game that you would play 10 times in a row, or maybe one game that you have played 10 times in a row, specifically solo. I just want to clarify, specifically solo. And also, let me know how we should define, or how I should define, I should say, a game session, because I'm a little sad I couldn't put Sleeping Gods on the list because I considered an entire campaign, but part of me is kind of considering playing this maybe 10 campaigns in a row. I feel like it would be a nice experience, although I feel like I would eventually run out of stories. I don't know. At any rate, that's it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it, and as always, I will see you all whenever.